desert, our default rate is less than 2% among these mothers, and they earn the lowest income in North America. So the women came back to us and said, listen, you build the schools, we have taken control, you build the schools, so we have, as part of the process of building the schools, we negotiated with the Mexican government that the schools would remain open after hours. So they weren't just schools during the daytime, they became schools at night. And we like the schools, but we realized that during school hours, we can't play a role in our kids' lives. And so we sit down outside and we make food for the kids at lunch. You see them all over Mexico, this little stand that they set up, and they start making food for them, and they rotate, and the women make a little bit of money, but the kids are guaranteed a better lunch than, they'll run out and buy whatever. He said, but we really need you to create something inside these schools that will require us to come inside, to be part of the school. And so our response was the first of our solar kitchens, and we just got a grant, from the Mexican government to build 100 more of these. We built seven. And these kitchens are actually based on a technology we developed earlier, about 18 years ago, with a famous German solar engineer, reflective condenser. It was dishes, which he had developed to track the sun and focus the rays on. Here's the pot. So it's collecting all the sun and hitting the pot, eating up the food. And he said, so we decided that we needed to come up with a kitchen for in there where they could cook, but not just in the kitchen. We wanted to have a kitchen that would be transformational. So as the women all collectively cooked in the school, they would be cooking with solar energy and recycled water and learn about all these technologies that could be transformational in their own homes. So we introduced solar energy. We recycle the water. We capture all this rainwater. This building does an extraordinary number of things, and they do it in a way that brings the whole community together and allows the mothers to be part of their of the kids' education. So that solar condenser, you saw that big dish, is focusing its rays on this door. On the back is this thing which cooks. Now we have developed ones where you can cook on top, so you can do the sazonada, the cooking on the frying pan and everything else. It's made not like the German one, which is extraordinarily beautiful, not made from lights, crystals, but mirrors, but from 25-cent vanity mirrors that you find in the marketplaces of Mexico. You got to do the technology on the cheap. And then all the parts, the entire frame, the whole mechanism is made from scavenged bicycles. So we can make the entire mechanism, the rotation of it, which is actually based on all the cogs and gears of the bicycle. It works like a giant grandfather's clock. You fill it with just a little bit of difference in sand, and it rotates through the cycle. You can adjust it. It takes about a week to adjust it, and finally it will rotate to the rotation of the sun. Then in the morning, the women will set it to the rising sun, and it will rotate again. And all day, it'll give you about 10 hours of cooking time per day. Now, in this school, in this first school, there was a kind of it was an act of negotiation. It was the first one. It was radical. Nobody knew to do it. The principal took a risk by going out there and saying, you can build this solar kitchen in my school. And you see there's a school house up above, and this school had been built by the squatter community, so it had really no land. And she said, you can build this solar kitchen in my playground because I desperately need the women there, and we need better food for the kids. But we finally came up with a solution, an extraordinary solution, which one of my students created, which was actually, she went up to the neighbor up there and she said, if you allow us to build a solar kitchen in your first terrace on the wall that separates you from the school, we'll give you water, and we'll give you hot water, and we'll give you excess solar energy. And she negotiated a contract which allowed the school, therefore, to maintain its playground. And it's that act of negotiation which actually is at the heart of how squatter communities become real communities and become vibrant places of living. So the whole thing is made of scavenge. We scavenged the steel. We got steel fabricators to give it. Of course, you have to have a yellow kitchen if you're in Mexico. We have a washstand where kids wash their hands as they go up to the dining room. Because we are coming from an ecological focus, you notice that 6 months after we built this first one, the whole landscape had grown back because we hadn't kind of uprooted the site and done the tabula rasa that we normally do, which is we level the site and then we plant sod and we hope that nature will come back. And every plant came back. But the most extraordinary thing, which happened at 2 in the morning, has become an ever-growing fact, because it's become, well, 2 in the morning, we're leaving at 8:30 in the morning from a flight in Mexico City, which is 2.5 hours away, and we turn on the solar energy, and it reflects. We have used the underside of this gigantic covered eating area as a reflector, and it becomes a gigantic lantern. And the entire kitchen becomes this lantern, and the women, who are much smarter than we are, have taken this as a clue and made it into a community center. So every night now, it sits as a lantern above the squatter community, which you see all those little lights up above are part of the squatter community. And this first kitchen sits up on this hill as a beacon of hope, because it's in energy independence. It's actually acting to the benefit of the community, but independent of all the structures which are creating the systems of poverty. Because that power plant, which you actually see on the right, that's why I love this picture, is the one that supplies the 160-some pharmaceutical companies, but supplies none of the dwellers that work in the factory. So the community center is like kind of a beacon for the future and change. Anyway, these women, of course, didn't stop here. And actually, this is a guy act here. The guy said, well, this was so cool, and we had, we realized that this has had an impact on our kids and everything. So the next year they came back and said, can we treat the water? We have this creek that goes through. We know that we're all dumping pollution in it. Is there any way? We can't afford a waste treatment plant. Is there any way we can do it? And we created a natural sedimentation system which aerates the water, uses natural aerobic systems to filter the water, goes through a root zone, those little squiggly things that it's like a grassland that polishes the water, and then it joins the river. And I went back to the World Bank, and we got a couple $100,000 to build it, and it's now in operations. So anyway, we've been all over the world, here in southern India, working for, we've actually created our first off-the-grid project, which was a center for people in exile from Tibet in southern India, trying to find a home in southern India. And actually working side by side with them, we actually learned an extraordinary amount, because it actually pushed the limits of what we understood. We had, I think, become extraordinary community organizers and good at listening, but we hadn't actually pushed the limit of what we could do. And in southern India, we found that kind of new comprehension, and there was this hotbed of people coming down there and trying to participate in many different ways. And all these Tibetan exiles invading all of southern India because of the, the political situation in the north. So it is here that we actually began to experiment with certain round-earth traditions, thermal sinks, certain cisterns that would affect our work from then on. We created the first massive bentwood corner around earth systems. It's very hard to turn a corner around earth, and actually limits the use of it in seismic areas. The interesting thing about this building that we created, and these are compressed earth blocks, so the round earth that you see is 97% earth, 3% cement. These blocks are 92% earth, 6% cement. So they're basically of the earth that you're making it, and yet they have extraordinary structural capability, about 91% of the structural capability of cement blocks. And here's the building finished. It actually creates a cool environment. It creates a place, shaded space. The entire building is made from materials found within 50 kilometers. It has this gigantic butterfly roof that protects people. It's become a community gathering spot for the entire community there. It was right in the path, my proudest moment, right in the path of the tsunami, and survived. It crested 20-foot waves and survived the entire city. So, and it treats everything. It treats water. It takes the water from the dormitories. It has composting